Hello and welcome to episode 271 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
77 Club. What? No, it's not. It's the Wall 77 Club on Facebook. We don't use Instagram anymore. I've kind of deleted the app. TikTok, still got no followers. We're on Spotify, YouTube. Please subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell anyone.
Jack Williams is here.
Hello, everybody.
Well, Harry, everyone's talking about it. Two guys that have been in the wilderness doing their own thing, but they're back together. Daniel Pedence, Gonçalo Guedes, they're back in the fold. We'll be talking about them later with Burnley, but I had to get that line in. Let's start with Chelsea. Really was a game of two halves. I mean, what can you say about that, really? I think you pretty much called the starting 11 as a certain player that was getting a bit of stick before the game, Madueke, because of what he'd said about Wolverhampton. He sort of replied in the only way that you can really against Wolves, and that was score a hat-trick, but had to wait for a 14-minute spell in the second half to do that. But just thoughts on that first half to begin with, because it was end-to-end, it was very entertaining, and there were mistakes all over the place.
Yeah, well, obviously we were optimistic last week, so there was only one way this game was going to go, and it went the way everyone expected. No, we were good first half, I thought. Obviously, a disastrous start. And the starting lineup, I was shocked that he dropped Rodrigo Gomez. That took me by surprise. I thought he'd put Cunha in for Bellegarde, but obviously Bellegarde kept his place. And yeah, very entertaining first half. Obviously, going 1-0 down early was a bit of a sucker punch, but we responded well. Great run by Ait-Nouri to set up Cunha. We were the better team first half for me. But as you said, game of two halves. I don't know what happened. We opened like the Red Sea second half. Ait-Nouri decided he didn't want to defend. I don't know if it's tactical or he was just knackered. I don't know. But as you said, that geezer who said Wolverhampton's a shithole bangs in a hat-trick and laughs about it after the game. So a game to forget, especially second half, an afternoon to forget. And first half, positives to take, though.
He did apologise in his post-match interview, and in the Instagram post it was brought down as probably as quickly as it went up, in all fairness. And he had the council leader, Stephen Simpkins, suggesting the England under-21 international could only have seen glimpses of the city through a coach window. But we'll leave that there for now. Jack, I think, can you think of a goal that was particularly hard for Chelsea? I mean, I want to talk about the second one, really, for them and Cole Palmer. And I know that you are a Jose Sarr fanboy. I think he should have done better. I want to know what you think.
I want to come back on just quickly, just touch on the comments first, because usually what happens like to most teams is when somebody puts something like that out there, like a bit of, something a bit too far, it comes back to bite them. But when it's Wolves, we just do the opposite and we just completely collapse. So he looks like a right genius. So you asked about Jose Sarr and Chelsea's second goal in particular, but yeah. It was just it was a weird first half. We fell asleep at the start, didn't we? We fell asleep in the first few minutes, and then before you know it, cross into the box and then goal. And we're just thinking, oh God, what's going on here? It was far too easy. But then from that, I think we really got into the game and started playing well, and I was really impressed. It was kind of like that second half spell against Arsenal, and we were much the better team, got ourselves back into the game. And then we fall asleep again, and that's what happens then. We've just basically from a quick long ball, which people were saying was a moving ball for the free kicks that shouldn't actually allow, but VAR can't intervene. But yeah, whatever. We just a complete calamity again. Really, we just switch off for a few seconds, and it undoes all our hard work. But then we go back to it, we go again, and right on the stroke of half time. Larson gets his first goal, and I go in at half time thinking, right, we've been sloppy in that half, but we've been the better team. I think they're there for the taking now. And I honestly think we can kick on and we can go for it here. And then just to fall apart like that so quickly. I mean, a 14-minute hat-trick, for God's sake. Like, I just don't know what's going on. And I think you've got to point your finger at the manager, really, because it just seemed like every time Chelsea came forward at the start of that second half, there was so much space on their right-hand side, our left-hand side, that it was like watching Sunday League football. It was just like, well, if they pass it to the right now, they've got an acres of space, and then they score or they nearly score, and it just kept happening. It just kept happening. I don't know what was happening with Ait-Nouri, whether he was just told to go and play up front or something. But it was just like we'd converted to a Sunday League team, and we were playing next goal wins or something. But I don't know. It was just a really frustrating one, and to be honest, quite embarrassing, really. Quite embarrassing because we'd made sloppy mistakes to undo all our work in the first half, and then it slightly came out in the second half and just thought, well, what's the point, And it was, just really, really disappointing. And I think you've got to look at the manager. You can point to individual players as well, fair enough, but I think the buck stops with him on that, just because of how bad it was and how unorganised it was. And it's just got me thinking again, like, I don't think we've got the players for a back four, have we, at the moment? Let's be honest. I don't think we've got the quality there. And it's all very well saying, okay, we had 2 good spells against 2 on paper good teams, but we were letting 8 goals in our opening 2 games. Like, that's abysmal. Like, that's worse than we thought it was going to be. And you think on the balance of play, though, we've done all right in both those games for part of it, but it doesn't matter if you just completely switch off for other parts of it. So he's got some work to do, O'Neill. I know he's still hopefully getting players in and all that, but it's just one that leaves a bit of a weird taste in our mouth, because it's honestly one of those games where you thought, right, we can kick on here and we can at least get a point. We deserve a point. It's been a great game of football, great for the neutral, but we just absolutely fell apart. I can't remember us falling apart like that bad, really. What, Wembley? Maybe, but even then it wasn't to the same degree, where we just seemed to stop defending.
Well, I mean, in more recent times, you'd probably say the cup game against Ipswich last season potentially is looking comfortable. 2 goals up, obviously lose 3-2. Harry, it was reminiscing. Everyone's going, "Oh God, we haven't shipped 6 goals at home since Southampton back in 2006 or 7, whenever it was." And I still stand by that game as a game that we should have won. Missed a penalty, of course, but it could have gone a different way. And obviously, you got to put away your chances. I thought we were a bit unlucky with VAR, but it's the right decision. Mascara went really close, hit the post, with the bar as well. So on another day they go in, but unfortunately. And I think who is it? Is it Wolves Fee? So Jose Sarr is responsible for basically all 3 Madueke goals. On top of that, Palmer, even the legal goal. What was he doing marking the halfway line? That wasn't what I was expecting to get. But yeah, just one of those days. Everything seemed to go in. He seemed to score the same goal 3 times, which is just incredibly annoying.
Yeah, no, like action replays. And I get the Sarr argument, although the first one took a bit of a deflection off Ait-Nouri, I think. But the other 2, obviously, I've said Ait-Nouri was nowhere to be seen. Totti was struggling. Obviously, he eventually went left back. And yeah, Sarr just got beat very easily for most of the goals, really. And he struggled at Arsenal as well, so he's really got to improve, especially with the rumours of goalkeepers coming in, and Bentley did okay against Burnley. But for me, I think when Neto come on, obviously,
Snake.
That's when it seemed to change, because it just all went to shit then. And then he was celebrating every goal. That was winding all the fans up. And then obviously we just didn't react well enough. We just tried to do what we did first half, and we didn't really do the same, did we? We just wasn't as good going. Well, we was all right going forward, but we were way better going forward first half. And we kind of rode our luck first half as well, when you think about it, like we did. But we only conceded 2. But I get what Jack's saying, but he 8 goals in 2 games. I would prefer the back 5, but it's one of them where Gary wants to change it. But if you haven't got the players, it's relegation form, 8 goals in 2 games, albeit against 2 teams that will probably be in the top 6, maybe top 4 if Chelsea keep playing like that with the talent they've got. But yeah, the Neto one was the most heartbreaking thing for me. We were sat down in the bar, weren't we, Sam? And he was being carried and laughing his head off, loving life. I thought that was really disrespectful.
What did you think of that, Jack? Because I know a lot of people are going, well, he didn't play for us anymore. We're not paying his wages. And do you think if it was a last minute winner or something, like 96th minute winner, then you go, yeah, fair enough. But when it's a 6th one that goes in, you just think, is it a little bit classless?
I wouldn't say I was angry about it. I was more just surprised, because I didn't expect it from him. And particularly when he was our player a fortnight ago, for God's sake. And we've taken him from Lazio and basically got him, made a name for him, got him into the Portugal first team, done all this for him, really put him on the map and looked after him through 2, bad injuries where he's been on the sidelines and still been paying his wages. And then 2 weeks later, I don't mind you celebrating a little bit, but it was a bit overkill, really. There was I honestly thought if he scored, or I know he got an assist, didn't he? But if anything happened, it would just be a case of head down, run over to your players, high five them. But it was like he just won the lottery, and and maybe it was tactical, right? Because gets on the crowd's back, might get on his his former teammates back, and I don't know, but yeah, if anything, I was just more surprised by it, really. And I agree. I don't think there was particularly any need for it. I don't think it's going to bode well for him in the future, because we have players who leave. Like, you look at, one coming up Saturday, don't you? Like Gibbs-White and all that, who you know, it's left on bad terms and these sorts of things, and you know he's going to get booed. I thought Neto was one that would be clapping for years because of what he did. Like, kind of like Jota, really. Like, you know, Jota, you know, he's played against us enough times now. Don't think he gets that bad a reception or anything. But like that, it was, yeah, to do that in front of your teammates, literally, you know, 2 weeks after you've left them as well, on very good terms, and you put out like a heartfelt Instagram post, it just basically just pisses all over it, didn't it? It was just bollocks. So, you know.
Well, yeah, no, I completely agree. I thought he was a snake. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Ian says Sarr is wank. So that's what that's what Ian thinks about Sarr. Stephen says Wolves defending has been an issue for all of 2024. Is O'Neill culpable and, in my opinion, inept? Ooh, I thought it was a bit harsh. Yam777 says the first half we were so good, the second half tactics was so off. I hope Gary O'Neill doesn't want us to play out from the back like that. I'd rather have the back five all day and rely on counter attack. So pretty much echoing what Harry was saying there. Steve says we'll return to a back five. We hope so, Steve. Wolves Fee is saying, did I mean losing 6-0 at home? I think I did say at home, possibly.
Yeah, it was at home, you meant, yeah.
Yeah.
As away, wasn't it, the Brighton one?
Yeah, away was at the Amex. Cameron says Gary O'Neill loves sending subs on far too late when things have gone to shit. I mean, is there any truth in that, Harry? Does he leave it too late?
Yeah, I think he's always had a little bit. Lopetegui was the same, though, wasn't he? But, I think O'Neill's a bit more reactionary. O'Neill's a bit better. But sometimes he does. No, he does actually. He does leave it late sometimes when I think back. But
they all
when you're
have,
6-2
like,
down, yeah.
Nuno used to. We moaned at Nuno and Large for doing the same thing. I think every manager we've had since we've been in the Premier League can have the same criticism.
NF2204 says there's a trend with O'Neill getting found out tactically. I think these are overreacting a little bit. Do you not think,
It happened so quick. He scored straight after half time, and then not the hat trick. Before you know it, you blink and it's 5-2. So that maybe that is a bit harsh, but maybe at half time, you know, a really good manager might have thought, right, we've rode our luck a bit here. Let's shore it up a little bit, tweak it, because they tweaked it, didn't they? They brought Neto on and changed it slightly, and then look how it worked for them.
Yeah, well, they got a million players to pick from. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it works two ways. Having about 50 million players is that the ones you've picked are obviously going to be actually quite grateful and wanting to stay in that space. So I think Micah Richards had said something on the Rest is Football podcast about this could be a masterstroke and stuff, and I think he's only really saying that because they've probably beaten Wolves at the weekend.
I agree with Michael.
So Michael says Hwang was shit again. Is it time for Podence? Michael, man after my own heart, is of course better than Jota, back in the fold. We will talk about. I mean, is that a good time to move on to Burnley? Do you reckon? Anything else to say about Chelsea before we do that?
All I would say is you can't blame Larson and Cunha and that. I thought going forward we were brilliant, especially first half. Ait-Nouri was good going forward. Obviously, you mentioned he set up the goal, but it was just defensively, it was all at sea. Yerson had some good moments though first half as well, getting back. But it was just
Totti Gomez gives me. I've got so many kittens here. The amount I've had every time he comes near the ball, he just looks like a liability. Not somebody who's been playing there for a good season and a half.
I think the weakness was Totti Gomez, Ait-Nouri being weirdly out of position. He kind of like tucks in, doesn't he, and then goes on mad attacks and don't get back. Sarr obviously was at fault. I thought our midfield was okay on the day. They were trying to get back. So, yeah, it was just down that right-hand side, wasn't it? It was just horrendous. And, yeah, playing a 4 at the back against a team with that much talent was brave, but maybe naive. I do respect the fact we went for it, though.
Stu is disagreeing with you there. He says, this blaming the back four is really pissing me off. The back four was exposed because the defending didn't start from the front. The midfield parted like the Red Sea. So the Red Sea making an appearance in the podcast again. I don't know, maybe, possibly. Yeah, I think one to put to bed and move on swiftly, and that's just what they did, Harry, with Burnley in the Carabao Cup. Safe to say that probably people this summer wouldn't have expected Guedes to be scoring twice for Wolves in a Carabao Cup game. It's actually 599 days in between goals for him, and he gets a brace.
Yeah, I'm like when we seen him in pre-season, I was shocked. So the fact he's still sticking around now, 24 to 48 hours before the window closes, is really shocking. But do you know what? He played well. The last time I saw him play up front live was against Rayo Vallecano when he came on for Larson, and he was poor. He really was. But he was good. Pedence was really good. Chiquinha. Sarabia was a bit quiet, to be honest. But yeah, him and Pedence really tried hard, really looked like they had a point to prove. Linked up really well for that second goal. Lovely through ball from Pedence to him and a brilliant chip finish. But it was Guedes' night, wasn't it? He made himself the hero. Obviously, there's loads of others to mention. Pedro Lima was fantastic. Great assist for the first goal. Looked very sharp. Ain't Nori, he was the only one who made the team from the Chelsea game. We made 10 changes. Obviously, we didn't have much defending to do, but he got involved in a lot of the attacks like he does. Similar run to what he did against Chelsea to set up Cunha. But this time he nearly scored, didn't he? But the keeper saved it. So, yeah, all round, we absolutely dominated Burnley. They had a few debutants playing and made a few changes, but still, they've had a good start in the Championship. It was a decent test, and all the lads looked hungry, and they all looked like they wanted to be in the first team. That's what it was. It was a bunch of fringe players who think they should be in the first team. Tommy Doyle, another one, thought he was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant in midfield. And obviously, he's mad to think that Dawson and Santi Bueno are backup defenders now, especially considering how Yerson and Totti have been getting on the first two games. Well, maybe not so much Yerson, but definitely Totti. But yeah, brilliant night, brilliant performance. And it was just what we needed to get a bit of morale, positivity back around the camp. And it was Guedes' night, definitely.
Jack, what do you think about Craig Dawson coming into the side? I mean, if he's fit, for me, he starts, whether it's a back four or a back five. He was captain until Lamina came on and obviously took the armband off him. Played a good few minutes, and he just seems to shore things up a lot, and you know what you're going to get from him.
You do need some experience, really, and the problem is when you're looking at the centre-back pairing now for these first two games, Mosquera's never played Premier League football before. I know he's gone out on loan and he's done well, so that's why he's got back into this picture. And he's done okay. I know we've let in 8 goals, but he's had some good moments in these two games. Totti has played more Premier League football, but nowhere near the amount as Craig Dawson. And I think you need some experience in there. And Totti's played more as part of a centre-back in a back three rather than a back two. So yeah, 100%. I mean, if Dawson's fit, he needs to be the first choice centre back for me. And this is why I really think we do. And I think it will happen. I think O'Neill's come out and said himself, hasn't he, that he hasn't got the players to play this way. And he's finding out the hard way. So I think there's going to be some adjustments come in. And yeah, probably some of those fringe players coming in. I didn't watch the game last night, but the few things have made me laugh because I'm pretty sure I'm getting like deja vu because I remember Guedes having a blinder against lower league opposition before about 2 years ago, and we started bigging him up. And I think it might be a similar thing happening again, but 2 years later, just because we can't get him off the books. But yeah, strange one. But we do need players, don't we? And if there aren't any takers, then it's an interesting one. I get the Podence one more because he seemed to go out on loan and he was still doing well at Olympiacos. I mean, he won a major trophy, didn't he? Which is more than he's going to do here. So I understand that one a bit more because it was more about Podence's attitude rather than his actual ability, wasn't it? But I think with Guedes, it was both. So I'm more shocked at that comeback. But, let's see.
The second goal, Harry, was obviously both of them combined. A brilliant through ball from Pedence outside of his boot. Obviously starting out from inside his own half, wasn't he, Guedes? And showed a little bit of pace. Didn't panic and just did a little chip over the keeper. Lovely goal, lovely finish. And to be honest, it's probably the happiest that I've seen him probably since he's been here, really. And in all honesty, he seems to have a little bit of camaraderie with the rest of the squad. He's smiling, he's waving, embracing other players, and it makes a big difference. And obviously, with football, especially at this level, a lot of it's to do with confidence as much as it is about ability. So, that's a real plus. And it's almost, I know it's cliche, it's almost like a new signing because he hasn't been playing for us for such a long time, or both of them for that matter.
It's actually surprising how happy they do look, considering they're two people who didn't want to be here in previous spells, especially Guedes. He was really homesick, wasn't he? And they didn't like the managers when they were here before. But they seem to like Gary O'Neill. He's done really well with them. He's obviously given them a fresh slate, and they're grabbing it with both hands. And I think they can probably see the likes of Hwang in the first team and are thinking, well, that space is up for grabs 100% because he's been pretty poor, Hwang, especially against Chelsea. And Podence was fantastic in that number 10 role, always trying to unlock the door against a Burnley team that had 5 at the back, although they was a bit of a high line for that second goal when he put the through ball through. I don't know what they were doing there, but brilliant from both of them. They were the standouts, and one of them might be starting against Forest. And I just want to mention as well, we forgot to mention it for the first goal, Dawson's pass out to Lima for the build-up for the first goal. My God, it was like a great ball, wasn't it? If that was Pirlo or someone, you'd be creaming in your pants. So, yeah.
Yeah, Steve said Dawson's distribution was great. Completely agree. And also, Pladke, the Burnley goalkeeper, had an absolute blinder, by the way. I mean, that could have easily been 5 or 6 last night. So, yeah, I think 2-0 probably flatters Burnley. I think I expected a little bit more for them. Obviously, they had made changes and stuff, but yeah, definitely expected more for them. It is, of course, Brighton in the next round. Are we all really happy about that? What was it with the draw as well? Were they seeding teams? Sort of passed me by. What was that all about?
I don't know how it works now, but it's weird. It's just crap draw in it. You might go, Edge Jack. Is it far from you?
Well, I went to the last league game that was midweek there, and if you remember, I moaned so badly because I think I spent longer in the train queue than it did for me to actually drive home. So if you think I'm doing that for a League Cup game, then absolutely not. I would if it was a league game, but I think that's going to be that's one for the proper hardcore. I think Brighton away, League Cup midweek. I don't know. I'll see how it goes. It's unlikely, but there'd probably be far less people in the train queue because no one will go, so maybe it won't be as bad. Also, just a quick question: when you were saying about Hwang, then was it 20 million that we got offered from Marseille? Was it in the closed season for him?
Oh, apparently,
which we turned down. Floating that out.
I'll tell you what, though, Jack. Sam, what did we do before the Chelsea game? We were stood with that Korean fan, weren't we?
You were, yeah.
And that's why they ain't selling Hwang, because you got people like that Korean lad we spoke to.
That one bloke who bought a ticket.
Well, he flew over Sunday morning and then he flew home back after the game. Like
he did, yeah. He was.
They want the tourist attraction, so 20 million. They'll be thinking, "Now you're all right. We want the worldwide. Well, I said worldwide, the Asia market to stick around in case he starts banging goals in."
It would be interesting to see sort of how many are being sort of shipped out to there. I mean, that's crazy. He must have been in Wolverhampton for about 30 hours.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. He's clearly got more money than sense. Let's move on to Forest next. It's the Morgan Gibbs-White derby, everybody. But don't worry, it's going to be just like watching Brazil, I imagine. Portugal seems to be over, Harry. A couple of signings hopefully going through, probably just as we finish recording here, they will actually go through. Looks like agent João Gomez has done his job. It looks like Andre's on the way to Wolves.
Yeah. What are we talking about, the signings or Forest now?
Maybe do signings first, then that pretty much.
Should we do signings? Yeah. So Andre, I'll be honest, like the hype online is making me really excited about him. I've looked on YouTube at some of his highlights, and he's linked with Liverpool. It seems like a bit of a courier, and he's flying over, isn't he? As we speak, it'd be Friday when he get his medical done, and he looks good. Him, João Gomez, and Lamina in midfield would be pretty solid. By the looks of it, he's a deep line midfielder, isn't he? And it's a signing that's young, so it's the Fosun mould potential, but he seems like he's ready now, which is a good thing. And yeah, I'm glad that we've got him in, although I'm a bit worried we haven't got centre half in. Well, I say that, we've got that young French lad, haven't we? But he's 18.
Yeah,
so he's not going to start, is he?
We look at Andre, so £21 million deal, Fluminense by the looks of it. Initial £18.5 million plus another £2.5 million in add-ons. He won the Copa Libertadores, which is the South American equivalent of the Champions League in 2023. He's publicly admitted previously on wanting to move to the Premier League, and he actually saw a move to Fulham fall through early on in the window. Jack, does it excite you? I know it's sort of one of those where we don't really know too much about the player, but you go on Twitter and you normally get a little bit of a feel for it, especially probably more from the Brazilian fans than anybody else.
Yeah, well, you've got to trust him, haven't you, really, because of what they did with João Gomez, and this one sounds very similar, and especially when there's hype around a player from other clubs in the Premier League as well, it's usually a good sign. I'm only thinking, really, this doesn't mean that Gomez might be moving or something. It's not like a because we've got quite a lot of midfielders. I know Troy always got injured now, but
he was meant to go to Feyenoord apparently, but because of that injury, he's not. That's interesting.
Okay, that's my only. I'm always thinking that there's going to be a knock-on impact somewhere. So as long as that's not going to happen, I know there's only a day left now, so maybe I'm being a bit panicky. But yeah, sounds like a good one. However, I think everyone knows the elephant in the room is what we really need to sign before the end of this window is a centre back and maybe a goalkeeper.
We have.
Well, let's have a look at it. So it's promising young defender, which seems to be promising is all we sign. But Bastien Moypu from Nantes, central defender, 5-year deal, includes an additional year. He's represented France at 3 different age groups, most recently under 18s, and he made his debut for Marseille. It was an eventful one. He got sent off in the 9th minute, so making him the second youngest player in the league's history to receive a red card. He was then out for a time because of injury, but it looks like, Harry, that he's played most of pre-season in central midfield, actually, and one of those games was against Crystal Palace. He's got experience at left back as well, so he brings a bit of versatility to the group, potentially.
Yeah, but he ain't ready now, is he?
No.
He ain't going to get straight in. So we do need to... I don't think we're going to now. I think we'll keep Santi Bueno. Because he obviously played against Burnley in the Cup and did okay. But yeah, he's just more potential, isn't it? It's like, he's similar age to Pedro Lima, isn't he? Although Lima does look really good, but he's not a starter yet, is he? It's just, this is what we've got to expect now. This is the Fosun mould, and look, if it works, if in 3 years we sell him for quadruple the price, then they've done their job, haven't they? But the Andre signing, like I said, does seem like the here and now. He'll be in the team. And we've obviously had Larson. Rodrigo Gomez looks like he probably is now, but I think we needed a proper centre half that is experienced. But hey ho, hopefully he's good.
Liam Keane tweeted earlier to say Wolves were interested in the West Ham defender Naef Ugard. Nothing close, but a loan possible before the end of the window. One to keep an eye on. I did a little bit of a scout of the West Ham channels earlier. Seems to be held in pretty high regard. However, it is a little bit annoying when a certain Max Kilman is getting the plaudits that he's getting at the moment, Jack. Lots of praise for him after their win at the weekend. Had an absolute blinder by all accounts.
Yeah,
40 million. 40 million.
Loan deal makes sense.
So just on Kilman, I also think that he's just going to get more press now because he's playing for a London team and he's English that he wouldn't have got when he had a good game for us. So I think it's just now it's been like a big money move, and it's to it's like I say, a London team, a West Ham, that he's more likely to get plaudits. He'll be in the England squad soon, so it's one of those. That's what I think will likely happen just because of who he's playing for now. So yeah, take it with a pinch of salt. But honestly, when Kilman went, I think everyone thought that, okay, that's fine. That's a good deal for everybody, but we're going to spend 20-25 million on a new centre back, not just bring back a guy from loan and stick Totti next to him and just hope that it'll be all right, because it's not going to be all right. It's going to bite us in the arse. And going back to what we were saying, I agree with Harry that this is the model now, is try and sign young talent, develop them for a few years and then sell them at a profit. But if we're in the Championship, then we're not going to get the same money for these players because it's immediately, it takes down the value of Wolves as an asset. Mm-hmm. So it's a dangerous game we're playing. And at the moment, I do fear that we've seen it in the past with teams like Southampton, and they do this, and they sell these players on for good money, but eventually they go down. And our trajectory since we've come up, as I've said, has been seventh, and then down. So we just need to be careful. I'm not saying it's panic stations yet, because it's just 2 games, and if we win on Saturday, everyone will be joyous. But at the same time, it's Forest will be looking at that game thinking, hang on, we've got 4 points here. If we beat Wolves, we've got 7 from 3. That's dreamland for them. So it's really difficult. We just need to be careful.
Talk about teams selling assets. Apparently, we've had a £20 million offer rejected by Burnley for the winger Luca Koleosho. Harry, I think Burnley have sold quite a few players now and aren't probably in a position to have to sell, or can probably ask silly money, or money certainly, that they wouldn't have got for them earlier on in the window.
And Guedes, and Gary O'Neill said Guedes and Podence are probably staying, which for me means we probably won't be bringing a winger in. Is the keeper Johnson? Is he going to come in? That looks likely, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that was the only one. Yeah, £10 million. But it goes back to Jack's point, doesn't it? If there's not much money to spend and we need a centre back. then why are we spending £10 million on a goalkeeper?
Does that mean?
No, I would have got Ramsdale. I would have taken Ramsdale, and he's obviously gone to Southampton. It may work out for him. I suppose if you're a promoted team, you don't want to be shipping goals. Will he potentially do that? I know he's split opinion amongst our fan base, but surely that £10 million could have been spent on a centre back.
Yeah, I think so. And but does that mean that Bentley or Sarr's leaving? I thought Bentley did okay against Burnley, by the way. But Sarr's had a bit of a shocker. So it's a very strange one, unless they'd want three keepers to be battling it out to give Sarr a kick up the arse. I don't know. Good point from NF, by the way. Considering Rodrigo Gomez didn't start against Chelsea, I'm surprised he didn't start against Burnley, to be fair. So he'll probably start Saturday. But yeah, on the transfer window, maybe there'll be a bit of a surprise, but it feels like Andre's going to be the big one. Obviously, we've got the French lad in and then probably Johnson. That's it then, is it? And if that's all it is, I mean, Jack said last week, didn't he, if we keep Guedes, Podence, maybe we're happy with that because we don't really need to bring a new winger in if we do keep them. Maybe Santiago Bueno will stay, but with the new French lad coming in, he still might go out on loan and he'll be the fourth choice centre-half, even at his young age. So, yeah, the transfer window's been a bit... started off really well, but with the sales of Neto and Kilman, in terms of spending, they haven't spent what people expected, I don't think. But there we go. We'll see how it ends. Obviously, at time of recording, it's Thursday night, so there's still 24 hours to go.
Yeah, so a couple more coming in. Obviously, the ones that have actually absolutely been confirmed: Rodrigo Gomez, Pedro Lima, Tommy Doyle, of course, making his move from Man City, a permanent one. Strand Larson from Celta Vigo. But a lot, like you say, a lot of players leaving. Most of them on loan, to be fair. But obviously, the two assets of the side, Neto and Kilman. So, we're talking about goalkeepers. I mean, Louis Molden has gone to Palace on a free. So I just can't really work that one out, to be honest. But there you go. Let's move on to Forest then. Harry, it's normally a bit of needle in this one, isn't it? To be fair, should be quite an interesting one. Morgan Gibbs-White now in the England squad for the first time at men's senior level. I'm sure he'll be dying to get on the score sheet again.
Yeah, and just when you think his ego can't get any bigger, he gets called up for fucking England. So Jesus Christ, his head won't be able to fit in the stadium. Yeah, it's a bit of a derby now, this, isn't it? Well, a bit of a rivalry because the Nuno's there. Obviously, Gibbs-White, we know what's happened over the years with them. So, and it's a massive game for us. We don't really want to be going into the international break with 0 points. They've had a decent start. Obviously, a good win away at Southampton. Gibbs-White getting that goal. But in saying that, I think if we can steady ourselves at the back a bit, and I do think we're going to go for a back four, by the way, against Forest, because I think the back four turned into that in Gary O'Neill's mind was for games like this, against this sort of team, to go at them and try and take the incentive. So I don't want to be optimistic, because when we was optimistic last week, pre-Chelsea, it backfired. I don't want to jinx it again, but I think we're capable on our day of beating Forest, not easily, quite comfortably. I thought we should have beat them last year when Cunha got the double. Just a bit sloppy. But I don't want to say it. Okay, I'm going to say it. I think we're going to win. I'm low-key confident about this game, actually. I think we can do something there.
Just before we get to Jack, Kishan in the comments says, just going back to Ramsdale, glad we didn't sign Ramsdale. Happy with Johnston, much better value. Plus, he's not a baggy. I think Kishan forgets that he's played for Villa Walsall and had 4 years at Albion. But there you go. I had to prove my point there. Jack, what do you reckon? I mean, they're going to bring the changes, aren't they? I mentioned Gary O'Neill and his backroom staff.
Not massively, I don't think, to be honest. I mean, it's a tweak here and there. I don't know where you point to. I mean, I personally, Hwang maybe. I would like to see the switch to the back five. I think we need to, and if it means Dawson plays 70 minutes alongside the other two, then so be it. I wish I was as confident as Harry about this game, but there's a lot of pressure on this game now after those first two results. I know they're results against teams that are going to be in the top half and have big aspirations, big squads, big money. But we knew on paper that our start was very, very tough. And these are the games we're looking at to having to pick points up in. And anything else we sort of gets a bit of a bonus. But we put so much pressure on ourselves now, particularly with that second half performance against Chelsea, that this is meltdown territory. If we get battered and lose 3-0 at Forest, it is meltdown territory this early in the season. And especially with the run of games we've got coming up as well, with the likes of Brighton, Villa, Liverpool, it doesn't get much easier quickly. So I think there's a lot of pressure on it now, and this is exactly the sort of game, like classic Wolves, where we just don't turn up. and I can see it. And I hate this Morgan Gibbs-White thing. Like I'm done with it now. It's funny at first, but it's just I've had enough of it now. Saying that when I'm rolled up, and if I'll get into it when I'm there. But I don't want this any sort of added extra pressure going around with it. And I hope we turn up and do the business. But I'm a little bit worried because especially if we go 1-0 down early on, like we did against Chelsea, then it is going to be potentially a difficult afternoon, and we haven't got the luxury of time and patience given how tough our start is, really. So yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about it, to be honest, and especially when they've had a decent start as well, albeit that they've only played Southampton and Bournemouth, which is a much easier start on paper than ours, but you take points on the board over games in hand and games on paper, don't you? So
yeah, very, very true. Harry, start off with a score prediction.
I was going to try and sneakily find some bets because I know Bayless usually does it. So do you want to go Jack first? Go Jack. Go first. Jack, you go first.
Jack, go first.
Oh, I really don't know. It's a tough one. This is because, I think based on Forest are probably in a bit of a false position, and we're probably in a bit of a false position based on just who we played in these first 2 games. So I don't know where we stand next to each other. I'll say a nervous 1-1, but I'm not hopeful.
What time's your train as well, Jack? Because I mean, you might not.
8:45, I think, in the morning. Something like that.
It's a quick train, isn't it, from London? I didn't realise how quick it was.
It's 2 hours. Yeah, it's really fast. Brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, is that okay? Right, that's quite.
Yeah.
So before I give my prediction, so Forest are evens to win, and the draw and us to win is 5-2. So does that make them favourites, Jack?
I wasn't listening, Harry. Go on. What was the question?
So Forest are evens to win, and a draw and a Wolves win are both 5-2.
So Forest are favourites then.
Slight favourite. So I'll read out a couple of price boosts while I read it. João Gomez to commit 2 fouls. Evens been boosted. Morgan Gibbs-White 2+ shots on target. You can get it at 5-1 on Sky Bet, which will probably happen.
That's pretty good value, isn't it?
Callum Hudson-Odoi to score first and Forest to win 2-1 is 66-1. I'm going to actually go for the mad score prediction, which never comes in. Well, it does once in a blue moon. I'm going to go 4-1 Wolves. Let's be optimistic. Shall I try and see what it is?
Yeah, go on. I mean,
I'll have a quick look. Hold on.
It's probably going to be shorter than recent weeks, given
it might not even offer it. Oh, it has offered it. It's only 66-1. Wolves to win 4-1. So 4-0 is 100-1. Wolves. But yeah, I'm optimistic. But like I said, pre-Chelsea I was as well. So take what I say with a pinch of salt. I just hope Gibbs-White don't score, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And obviously he's going to be buoyed by his England caller. Lee Carsley, interim England manager, has picked his first side. Has everyone seen the squad? Because I was going to read it out, but if is it? I'll read it out. Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford, Nick Pope. Yeah, fair enough. And then you got Trent, Levi Colwill, Mark Gay, Ezri Konsa, Livramento, Rika Lewis, Harry Maguire, John Stones. Midfielders, you got Phil Foden, Conor Gallagher, Angel Gomez, Colby Mainu, Cole Palmer, Declan Rice, Morgan Gibbs-White, and the forwards, Jarrod Bowen, Eze, Anthony Gordon, Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, Madueke, our mate from the weekend, Saka and Watkins in there as well. Harry, what do you reckon of that? I did watch a little bit of his first press conference, and I thought he was a little bit cold to some of the reporters. I hope it's not a return to the old days where the media hate the England manager, but they seem very complimentary. And in terms of the squad, he's picked players that he knows. A couple of those we probably don't recognise as much. Sort of the ex-Man United guy, Angel. Angel Gomez plays his football in France now. What did you think of it?
I haven't seen the press conference, but he just looks boring, doesn't he, Carsley? But I could see why he might end up getting the job, because they did it with Southgate, didn't they? Promoted from below, and he's got a good relationship with Gibbs-White, and because Gibbs-White was instrumental in his under-23s. Palmer, yeah. So, I mean, Gibbs-White, look, putting aside how much of a knob he is and how much rivalry we've got, fair play to him. Like, I didn't think he'd get into the England squad this soon when he played for us. And when he went to Forest, I didn't think he would. I didn't think he'd ever get in the England squad. So, good luck to him. In terms of England, since the Euros, it's just it's a bit shit, isn't it, when it comes around this quick? You don't really want to be thinking about England, do you, until at least next year, like January time. So, obviously, we'll probably watch it. Be interested to see how Gibbs-White does, and Be interested to see how Carsley does, but he does look like a really boring middle-aged man, doesn't he? When you look at him, good player back in the day.
Brummy as well, isn't he? Although played about 40 times for Republic of Ireland, one of the fixtures against Republic of Ireland, the other against Finland. Yeah, look, come on. I mean, it's basically the same thing. Jack, what do you reckon?
I honestly couldn't care less until summer 2026. To be brutally honest, but I honestly don't care.
Are you happy for Gibbs-White?
Am I happy for Gibbs-White? Indifferent, whatever. You know,
it's good for her. I would be interested to see if there's anything in the deal that Forest did with Wolves, or whether an England call up was on it. I mean, it's fairly unlikely, isn't it? It's mostly about Europe these days. I thought there were some big names missing from it. You know, people like Carl Walker aren't in there. Harry Maguire gets in there somehow. I don't know how that happens.
Got a bad smell, isn't
he? Yeah. So by all means, might be some attacking football. Might be some brave decisions made during a game. You never know.
Before you wrap it off, do you want to talk about the important thing instead of England before we wrap it up?
The important thing is obviously the
next week.
Charity game next week.
Yes.
But obviously we have no podcast next week because of the international break. I'll pass on to Harry to give you a little bit of an update of what's going on.
Yeah, we've mentioned it the last few weeks. Last call. 7th of September at Compton. I said Molyneux last week. I meant Compton, the training ground, the Dome. We did it last year. 10 teams, all for the Wolves Foundation, made and set up by Dazzling Dave. You may know him from YouTube fame. And we're going to try and not come last, aren't we, lads? So we'll give it our best shot. If you do want to watch it, it's £5 donation to Dazzling Dave's Fund Me page. So if you search for his Twitter or something, it'll be on there, or his YouTube. And you can come along and watch us if you want, or you can just donate. And I think it's going to be a yearly thing, unless you win it. If you win it, you get kicked out, because Jason Guy's team won it last year for the Ringers and they've been kicked out. So should we just come second this year? We'll come second this year. We'll
take the glory if you can. Take the glory. And
I mean, we ain't going to go from last to first, are we? But we've got a few changes, but they were forced because Jack and Bayliss let us down, as usual.
I'm at a wedding that was booked in way before this.
No, you should have been the wedding off. You've got to bin weddings off for days like this.
I'm part of the wedding party. I'm bloody usher.
I'm at a wedding on the Friday night. So if I play bad, you know why.
But if any of you have ever seen me play football, and I know you lads have, and some of you in the comments might have, that me not being there and getting a replacement is a blessing.
I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say that.
I don't know what it's going to be like for me, Harry. I'm carrying a slight niggle because I was playing some football on holiday with some Albanians who are about 15, a lot fitter and stronger than I am. But I did try and do an overhead kick and twisted my ankle. So we don't know how it's going to go. Maybe on crutches.
You're not in goal. You're not in goal.
He's not in goal. Yeah.
Maybe you might be.
Like
you did an overhead kick.
Yeah. Well, I did try. I tried and I just felt
at 33 with a bad knee.
Too old. I was like, I'm too old and fat to be doing this.
You couldn't get up for a day.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I'll roll around on the floor. Anyway, enough about my health. We'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Yes, goodbye, everyone.
And Jack Williams.
Bye, everybody. Rest in peace, Sven.
And we'll curveball.
That was all I was thinking about when we were talking about England, but I probably should have said something really.
The manager that let us down and never received anything. I'm joking.
Obviously, rest in peace, obviously.
Or